Today we're making an awesome Halloween tie-dye cake. Hi there foodie friends, my name is Carly and welcome back to my channel Adventures in Yum. We start with a plastic sheet on our counter. This is called an acetate sheet and we have it weighed down on either side using butter knives like I'm doing here, or you can use sprinkle containers or just something to weigh it down so that it doesn't roll in on itself. We then use a piping bag filled with purple buttercream to pipe a spiral starting in the center and working our way out. We don't want to pipe this spiral too open or too tight, so just make sure to find a nice balance to include our three colors. Next, of course, we're going to follow the same pattern that we just did using our orange buttercream. And once we're done with that, we're going to finish it off with our green buttercream, making sure that we get about even amounts of all the buttercream as we pipe. For larger cakes like this, we want to pipe a second layer of buttercream on top of our first layer because we will be scraping this buttercream off. We also want to tap the acetate sheet on the counter to remove any air bubbles and also let the buttercream settle all together. Next, we're using some kind of stick tool like a toothpick or a scribe tool or a cake tester to blend our colors together. We're going to start in the center and we're going to trace around that spiral pattern that we already made, and we're going to be making a back and forth motion to blend the three colors together. Make sure to not do too much blending between multiple layers at a time. You want to stick with the three colors and just keep following that spiral pattern. Then we're going to repeat this with a tool that's a little bit thicker than the one that we just used. For this one, I've actually found that a Starbucks coffee stopper is actually really great as long as you keep it turned to the side so it's a little bit thinner on the bottom. We can even follow the spiral pattern to blend these colors a third or even fourth time to make sure that they really are blended. The top is going to look like it's too blended, but once we actually put it on the cake and then scrape off that front part, it's going to be the perfect amount. As you can see, there are two panels on the side of this cake and we're adding our third. We want to make sure to gently press this onto the side of the cake so that it'll stick and it'll make sure it's completely secure all the way, but we don't want to press it too hard because it might actually squish the pattern that we just created, so we want to avoid that. We're also using our cake scraper to gently continue to press it against the side of the cake without smearing that buttercream. Once we have all the buttercream on the sides of our cake, we're going to be piping our buttercream spirals just as we did before, but on the top of our cake to make sure that gets completely covered. We're going a little bit out of order with the colors here, but we just repeat that same process until it's completely covered, and then of course we're blending, and then finally we're going to put a piece of parchment paper on top and smooth it out. Once we're all done with that, then we're going to stick this into the freezer for about 15 minutes or so to make sure all of our buttercream is nice and solid. Now that our buttercream is completely frozen solid, we can remove all of our acetate sheets and parchment paper. We might need to use a knife because these ones were overlapping just by a little bit because I cut them just a teensy bit too big. If for some reason we have some sections of the cake without any buttercream, we can go back with our piping bags and add little sections of color to fill in those gaps. We just want to make sure that we freeze the cake again before starting to scrape it down. While the buttercream is still nice and frozen, we want to take a paring knife and cut off the excess buttercream just like this. Next, we're using a heated metal scraper to scrape down our cake in order to make it nice and smooth. Before we finish decorating our Halloween tie-dye cake, if you are enjoying this video, then please make sure to hit that like button, click subscribe, and ring that bell to be notified about my latest video. Once we're happy with the smoothness of our cake, we're going to use a piping bag fitted with a Wilton 1M tip and filled with black buttercream to pipe our borders. So for the bottom border, we're doing a shell border, and to do this, we're applying pressure and then releasing pressure as we lightly pull away to create a little bit of a shell. And then we just repeat this pattern over and over until we get a full border on the bottom of our cake. For the top, we're doing a wreath border, and to start that, we're going to pipe a dollop and then just start to pipe swirls of buttercream that start to overlay on top of each other. And of course, we continue piping this pattern until we get all the way to the other side. For this cake, I decided to do an additional secondary border on top of our first one. So with this one, I'm using a smaller tip, a Wilton 21 tip, which is basically the smaller version of a 1M. And we're doing the exact same thing. We're just piping a shell border right on top of our 1M border. And to finish off the top, we're going to use that Wilton 21 tip and pipe this same exact shell border right along the inside of our wreath border. For this cake, we're using some Halloween sprinkles that I was gifted by Wilton. So we're going to start with the Halloween Jimmy sprinkles, and we're just going to add that on top of our black borders on both the top and the bottom. And then once we're done with that, we're going to add our ghost sprinkles and space them out pretty evenly around both the top border as well as the bottom border of the cake. And here is our completed Halloween tie-dye cake. Let me know in those comments below, what do you think of this really fun Halloween tie-dye cake? If you are interested in checking out some of the products I used in this video, then please make sure to check out that video description below for some of their Amazon links. Thank you so much for joining me today, foodie friends. I'll see you next time for another spooky, cute, and yummy adventure.